Hi, everyone. In this section, we wanted to answer some additional questions, specifically investor relation questions. These are some of the areas that we've highlighted before to individual investors. I think especially in the context of what was a very complicated merger that we put in place, there are some elements that we want to spend some more time on and make sure that all of our stakeholders, be it former shareholders, warrant holders, convertible note holders, we give a little bit more information. We have shared some of this information with you individually before, so there's some repetition if we've communicated with you by email before, and a lot of the messaging hasn't changed that much, but we want to make sure for completeness that we share it with all of our stakeholders. We will also put this information up on our website and update you regularly and make sure that we share with you as we make progress in some of these areas. They are primarily related to the merger and the impact that it has had on all of you that are either a shareholder or a warrant holder or an RSU holder. Some of the specific items that we'll touch on are the stock splits, the creation of a share reserve, how we arrived at the exchange factor in the merger, as well as the lockup period that is currently in place. And again, we'll make sure, or we'll try to help you understand how it affects you in your position as a shareholder or a holder of any other type of security. The first part that we want to touch on are the stock splits. And in summary, if you are a former Triller shareholder, the only thing that you should be paying attention to is that your shareholding at some point was affected by a 4-to-1 reverse stock split. We had to put this stock split in place to comply with NASDAQ rules. There was another stock split shortly before that, which only affected the AGBA shareholders, and that was to make sure that we had an ongoing 1-to-1 exchange ratio for the merger. But if you are a former Triller shareholder, the only thing that, if you are looking at your shareholding today, it has been affected by the reverse stock split of 4-to-1. That is the primary driver of the exchange factor, and we'll come back to that at a later page. We've received questions asking, how did we arrive at the exchange factor? We want to take a minute to explain the exchange factor to you that was used in the merger. We've received a lot of questions and want to make sure that you all have a clear understanding of how we arrived at a number that otherwise might look odd, to 0.3130. Initially, when we put the merger in place, the objective was to have a simple 1-for-1 exchange. The reverse split that we implemented at the time of the merger turned the 1 into the 0.25. That's sort of simple math. To get from 0.25 to 0.3130, we had to adjust for certain incentives that were granted at the time of the merger. And we wanted to make sure that the agreed upon split of ownership between former AGBA shareholders and former Triller shareholders remained at 30-70. So in order to make sure that that was happening, we increased the exchange factor from 0.25 to 0.3130 in favor of the former Triller shareholders. So that's the simple math behind the exchange factor. As part of the merger, in recognition of the fact that there were certain legacy issues that needed to be addressed over time, and it would take time to resolve, that would probably be resolved in maybe a year, maybe 2 years. Some of them may be even longer because of the complicated nature of some of these legacy issues. The merger parties agreed to establish a share reserve of about 24 million shares. Those shares are held in escrow, and they will be used at the discretion of the board to address some of these issues. After a 6-year time period, these shares will be released to the former Triller shareholders. That shareholding reserve has resulted in an adjustment to your shareholdings if you went from being a Triller Corp shareholder to being a Triller Group shareholder. As we've explained in the previous slide, you are subject to an exchange factor of 0.3130. So that's the first step in your math. The second step is the adjustment for this share reserve. We've shared on this slide the math at how we arrive at that adjustment factor. We've also shared these calculations in email updates that we've shared with all of our Triller Group shareholders. I will not go into details here because there's too many numbers, and I don't want to get things to get too complicated, but please read these numbers carefully, and you'll see that there's an adjustment of about 22% of your shareholding to allow for the creation of this reserve. We think this will help us to address these legacy issues in a manner that is sort of deserving of the complexity and make sure that it benefits all our stakeholders going forward. So if we combine all these things, what we try to do, especially for some of you that might hold our shares through a fund, and we've not been able to directly help you calculate what is your shareholding position today if you invested indirectly through a fund, because we're not able to necessarily assess what are the arrangements within your fund. We can't communicate to you directly. We say, oh, I hold 10 shares through a private equity fund or through a syndicate. You might have specific arrangement with them that we're not aware of. So we can't say, well, now you hold this many shares. But what we can do is provide you an example of what are the core drivers of the adjustments in your shareholding after the merger was implemented. And they're essentially the combination of the two things that we talked about. It is the exchange factor that is applied to your original shareholding. On top of that, there's the adjustment for the share reserves. And the very simple math is if you used to have 10,000 shares, you have about 2,400 shares of Triller Group Inc. today. And that's due to the factors that we've discussed. It's the exchange factor as well as the adjustment for the share reserve. Because of the nature of the merger, the shares were issued in a private placement transaction. And because of that, the shares are in a holding period for 6 months. They we expect to expire in April 15 of next year. If you're a shareholder, shares are held through Continental, our exchange agent. And after the expiration of the holding period, your shares will become freely tradable in compliance with Rule 144. That means we will not need to make any further registration statement, and we will provide detailed instructions to you as that date gets closer to help you understand how can you access your shares in Continental and how can you trade your shares after the expiration of the holding period. You should have received confirmation and information from Continental directly. If not, please contact them at the email address on this slide or reach out to us at ir@triller.co. We can help you and make sure that you get the information that you need. If you are a former convertible note holder at Triller or one of its related entities, you will know that your notes were converted into equity during the merger because we went through a change of control event. And you participated in the merger as a common stockholder. That means you're currently holding shares that are in a Continental account and that are subject to the overall holding period that all of the Triller Group shares that were issued during the merger are subject to. Now, the commitment that we've made to all of our convertible note holders is to register those shares. We are currently in the process of doing so. I think we are making very good progress, and we hope to update you very quickly. We appreciate your patience, but we're making very, very good progress, and we should be able to get back to you quickly with further updates. For former warrant holders at Triller and its related entities, the objective there is to very soon issue replacement warrants. Again, we're making good progress here. We have close to 200 warrant holders with a variety of different structures and formats. We're working very closely with our legal counsel and financial advisors to issue replacement warrants. Again, we thank you for your patience. We hope to be able to issue those very, very quickly, but we want to make sure we do that in the right way and that we think through all the the elements that we should in order to make sure that we have the right replacement warrants for all of you. Similarly, for the RSU holders at Triller and its related entities, those will need to be replaced. We recently filed an S8 that includes the former Triller RSU holders, and we hope to be able to get to reach out to everyone and give them an update on their RSU holdings and the appropriate vesting details. And we'll be able to get back to you in the coming weeks. We have been fortunate in the past to work with brand ambassadors, social media influencers, and other creators that have provided hugely beneficial services to us and have become trusted partners for us. And we've had rewarded them with SPU units. In the merger, those were converted to common stock, and you all participated in the merger as common stockholders. We provided you with information on how those stocks, common stock units in Triller Corp, ultimately translated into Triller Group Inc. shares. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We want to make sure that we continue our partnership and that you participate in the value that we're creating. And this goes for all of our stakeholders, being warrant holders, RSU holders, current shareholders, as well as the people that have helped us with other types of funding. We look forward to your continued partnership, to your continued contribution. We think there's tremendous value that we'll be able to deliver. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We respond very quickly. We're not always necessarily have the answers that you want from us. There's some complicated issues that we will continue to work through. They will take a little bit more time than we had anticipated, but we're working very hard, and we'll make sure to be transparent and to regularly update you where we can. So please feel free to reach out to us at ir@triller.co, and we'll make sure to get back to you very quickly. Thank you for your time, and look forward to hearing more from you.